Welcome to the Week 1 recap of the Premier League Drama 2025-2026 season. Week 1 in the Premier League didn't tiptoe in, it thundered through the turnstiles. New faces wrote first lines in fresh chapters, giants roared back, and underdogs swung with no fear. Across the grounds we saw debutants explode, stoppage time sucker punches, VAR drama, red card survival acts, and a 6-goal epic that reminded everyone right away why you never leave early. Let's dive into every game, sharp, fast, and full of the details you'll need when you cut in those goal clips. Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Anfield didn't just hum, it howled, stitched together by scarves, memory, and a heavy, heartfelt tribute. Before a ball was kicked, the stadium paused for Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva, then roared "You'll never walk alone" like a vow. On a night that carried both grief and defiance, Liverpool were electric out of the gates, Mohamed Salah testing or Petrovic early, Virgil van Dijk thumping a header over, Arne Slot gesturing, demanding one more run, one more sprint. You felt the opening goal forming in the fog of red shirts. And then, in the 37th minute, Hugo Ekitike ripped the seal off the season, springing beyond Marcos Senesi after a ricochet, taking Alexis McAllister's pass in stride, and burying low at the knee post. That's your tight angle, net bulge, and cop eruption. 5 minutes either side of halftime can define any game. On 50 minutes, it did again. Ekitike slipped Cody Gakpo into the pocket, and the Dutchman walked onto it with conviction. Pure side foot through the corridor of uncertainty, 2-0, and Anfield bouncing. But Bournemouth have a spine. After play was halted when Antoine Semenyo reported racist abuse from the crowd. The Ghanaian returned like a storm front. In the 64th minute, Tyler Adams sprung David Brooks down the left. Brooks zipped a venomous cross and Semenyo crashed it home. 11 minutes later, the gasp became a full shiver. In the 76th minute, Semenyo drove straight through the seam between Ibrahima Konate and Van Dijk, lashed across Alisson, and made it 2-2. From him to heart clutch in half an hour. The champions' answer was messy, human, and very Liverpool. A half-cleat scramble, a touch ricocheting off legs, and in the 88th minute, Federico Chiesa, on debut Premier League duty, snapped the ball into the roof in front of the Kop like he'd been doing it his whole life. Anfield convulsed. And because football loves a final flourish, in the 94th minute, Salah sprinted clear onto a long break, steadied his stride, and rolled the closer past Petrovic. Catharsis in red, rattled, rallied, and roaring by the final whistle. This is the cut that opens your season montage: Ekitike's first, Semenyo's brace, Chiesa's winner, and Salah's signature exhale. Final score: Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 2. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester City. If you were searching for signs of slippage in the champions-in-waiting chatter, yeah, you won't find them here. Wolves started with bite, even had a header chalked off for offside, but City treats slow openings like a yawn before a sprint. Rhythm arrived with the first incision. In the 34th minute, Rico Lewis scissored into the right channel and slid a skimmer that Erling Haaland tapped home with striker's boredom. Arrive, side foot, jogged to the corner flag like it's Tuesday. 3 minutes later, the new geometry teacher took the marker. 37th minute, Tijani Reinders ghosted to the D, met Oscar Bob's feet in stride, and found the bottom corner with a pass disguised as a finish. City 2 punches, 1 breath. Wolves had moments after the break, Jorgen Strand-Larsen side netting, a dipping hit punched over, but City do inevitability. In the 61st minute, it was the same predator in a different pose. Reinders carved the cutback. Haaland arrived like a rumor that always comes true, and side-footed his 10th Premier League goal against Wolves. If you're storyboarding, this is where you intercut Pep's poker face with a bench that can't help itself. And because debuts are a City specialty, in the 81st minute, Ryan Cherky dropped a shoulder and threaded the bottom corner to make it 4, body shape open, whip across the keeper, hands to ears like was there any doubt? This was City being City. Control without fuss, incision without theatrics, and newcomers sliding into the rhythm like they've been rehearsing for years. Wolves weren't timid, they were overmatched. The takeaway is boring in the way champions are boring, repeatable excellence. Final score, Wolves 0, Manchester City 4. Brighton and Hove Albion versus Fulham. The Amex in summer looks like a postcard. The football looked like chess with fireworks stashed under the table. Brighton's press was velvet and vice in the same breath. Mats Wiefer stepping in, Jorginho rudder, snapping off a tester. Yankaba Minte streaking into space only for an early strike to be waved off with the ball judged out. The Seagulls circled and circled, and the hinge felt inevitable. When Rudder was clipped slicing into the box, the ref pointed, and in the 55th minute, Matt O'Reilly walked up like a metronome. Stutter, corner, done. Keeper left, ball right, the scoreboard blinking at Fulham like a dare. Then, the last page twist. Deep into chaos time, a corner hung, flicked, and fell at the back stick. In the 97th minute, Rodrigo Muniz kept everything still. Head, knee, chest, pulse, and threaded a side foot through a thicket of legs into the far corner. It detonated the away end and turned a Brighton sermon into a Fulham hymn. That's the slow M.O. you save for 3 angles. The settle, the strike, the net rippling like a shrug at fate. Was it 1 point gained or 2 dropped? Depends on your shirt. Brighton had control, plus the penalty and the breaks, and will be replaying that Minte chance in their sleep. Final score, Brighton 1, Fulham 1. Tottenham Hotspur versus Burnley. New gaffer, same fireworks. Tottenham walked into their home opener like a band hitting the first chord clean. You could feel the tempo from kickoff. Lucas Bergvall asking questions inside 30 seconds. Martin Dubravka forced into a palm stinger. And then the switch flipped. Mohamed Kudus, who moves like a trick you've seen but still can't solve, picked a pocket high up, squared, and in the 10th minute Richarlison guided a pass finish into the far corner. The kind of strike that looks simple because the movement was brilliant. That one belongs to the low behind the goal angle. Richie's hips open, a kiss off the far stick, cue limbs. Burnley didn't sulk. Through it all, Spurs kept their spacing smart, letting Kudus and the overlapping fullback peel threads from the same seam over and over. Then came the showreel moment. On the hour, 60th minute, a carbon copy cross from Kudus hung tantalizingly. Richarlison backed into the air, scissors unfurled, and the volley cracked past Dubravka. Freeze it there for your edit. You'll sell the season with that picture alone. Burnley pushed back, Anthony stinging Guillermo Vicario's gloves. Hannibal Mejbri hesitating through on goal, but Spurs' next punch ended it. Around the 66th minute, Brennan Johnson curved his run, beat the line, saw the whites of the keeper's eyes, and floated a dink like he was in the park. You can practically hear the grin. What mattered here wasn't just the 3, it was the clarity. Thomas Frank's side looked organized, ruthless in the right channels, and happy to let their creators cook. Burnley will point to sequences where a bounce turns the tide. Spurs will point to the scoreboard and the cadence of a team that knows how it wants to score. Final score, Tottenham Hotspur 3, Burnley 0. Aston Villa versus Newcastle United. Sometimes the loudest noise is the one that never arrives. Newcastle pressed early, Anthony Elanga bursting through in minute 3, only for Marco Bizet to stand big, and Anthony Gordon kept snapping at the line. Villa had no first-half shot, the crowd fretted. After the interval, they found shape, then calamity. In the 66th minute, Ezri Konsa pulled Gordon down as last man and saw red. Cue siege. Crosses, cutbacks, and a dozen almosts, but no finisher's knife. 10-man Villa bent without breaking, nicked seconds, blocked everything, and lived to hear the whistle. A point dressed like a win for Unai Emery, a chance missed for Eddie Howe. Final score, Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0. Sunderland versus West Ham United. 8 years gone and back with a bang. You felt the Stadium of Light carry its team into every duel. The thud of second balls won. The breath before a press. West Ham had the first growl. Jared Bowen cracked one at Robin Rofes, and debutant fullback El Hadji Malik Diouf got adventurous with a low rasp blocked by Dan Ballard, but Sunderland were the ones riding the rhythm. Habib Diarra spun a 1-2 with Eliezer Manda inside 10 minutes. Mads Dubravka, on his hammer's bow, pushed wide, and the home side's belief thickened. A setback came when Jensen Seelt limped off after a clattering aerial, yet the Black Cats didn't blink. They kept hunting wide service, and when it finally arrived, the roof came off. On the 60th minute, Omar Alderete whipped a wicked, flat cross. Mayenda hurled himself across the near post, neck muscles coiled, and glanced it in on the stretch. It's the kind of finish you roll twice, once live for the bedlam, once tight to see the defender's despairing toe miss by inches. Graham Potter tossed cards from a bench. Callum Wilson returned to booze. Diouf kept driving, but the next hammer blow was red and white. In the 73rd minute, Simon Adingra shaped a teasing ball, and Ballard bulldozed it down and in. Textbook downward header, net hammering, South stand levitating. West Ham still had field position, still had territory, but the touches turned nervy, and the final pass went missing. When you chase like that, you're open to the sucker punch. And it landed. In the 92nd minute, Wilson Isidore nicked a loose ball near halfway, motored to the box with the confidence of a man who already sees the graphic on the scorebug, and passed it low into the far corner. Manager on the sideline, fist pumping like a human metronome. Sunderland's return wasn't survival football, it was identity ball. Sharp in transitions, lethal on the first delivery, and mean when protecting the box. Clip Mayenda's header, Ballard's roar, and Isidore's sprint and finish. That's how you announce yourself back to the party. Final score, Sunderland 3, West Ham United 0. Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. City ground waves, flags, noise, Forest surfed all of it. They didn't so much settle as pounce. From an early corner that Brentford failed to clear, Chris Wood did what poachers do. 2 steps, set feet, guide home. Whether you call it inside 5 minutes or a lightning start, the tape tells the same story. Forest landed first. Then came the conductor's cue. Morgan Gibbs-White started feathering passes with devilish shape, and around the 42nd minute, Dan Doy, debut nerves long gone, steamed across his marker and arrowed a header back across the keeper. That's your classic winger's cross, striker's flight path pairing. Run it twice in the edit, once wide to show the arc, once tight to catch the glance. Brentford weren't passengers. Yerr Yarmoliuk bent one with the outside of the boot to force a strong Matt Sell's hand. They asked enough to keep you honest. But Forest had the half in their fists and twisted for the gut punch. In first half stoppage time, think 45 plus, Elliot Anderson threaded a perfect through ball, would rounded Queven Kelleher, and rolled in a second for himself and a third for the scoreboard. That's where you cut to a shell-shock away end, and the 3-0 graphic that feels heavier than numbers. The Bees got a sliver of hope late. In the 78th minute, a handball call sent Igor Thiago to the spot. He tucked it with calm, then grabbed the ball, urging teammates back. But a full chase never materialized. Forest had earned the right to manage, to take the sting out with possession and set-piece threat. The bigger story remains the shape, Gibbs-White as the metronome and mischief, Wood as the blunt instrument who can still purr, and a debutante winger already on the wavelength. Final score, Nottingham Forest 3, Brentford 1. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. Derby Day drama dials set to awkward. In the 13th minute, Ebereki Ease kissed a free kick into the top corner, rocket, limbs, ecstasy, only for VR to chalk it off with Mark Gahey ruled 2 close to the Chelsea wall. From there, it became a grind. Esteveo's introduction lit the right flank for a spell. Palace kept their block granite hard, and the half chances stacked without tipping. Late darts from Liam Delap and Andre Santos teased it, but not today. On another day, it's 2-1 either way. On this one, it's a clean sheet and a debate. Final score, Chelsea 0, Crystal Palace 0. Manchester United versus Arsenal. Old Trafford came dressed for a reset, new ideas, new edges, and a manager who talks like he means it. For 10 minutes, United had the ascendancy. Mateus Cunha carrying chaos forward, Brian Mbeumo finding pockets, Patrick Dorgu cuffing the post with a skidding drive. Then one mistake turned a mood. Declan Rice sent in an in-swinging corner. Altay Bayender flapped at air under pressure. And in the 13th minute, Ricardo Calafiori headed from a yard into a net so open it felt rude to miss. The groan told you everything. The camera on Bayender told you more. What followed was a study in margin. United's press had bite and intent. Arsenal's shape had cynicism and calm. Bumo flashed a bicycle wide after another Cunha barge through the lanes. In the 74th minute, a Dorgu cross flicked and Bumo detonated a near-post header. David Raya's full-stretch denial was as good as the goal at the other end, the kind of save that gets buried under graphics but decides results. In the closing minutes, Arsenal's backline played like veterans of 1-0 away days. Fouls when fouls were needed, throw-ins taken like gold coins, the clock trimmed with scissors. For Arsenal, it's a day they've lived a dozen times across title challenges. Win ugly, carry on, don't apologize. Clip the Calafiori nod, the 74-foot save, and a final whistle that sounded like a lesson. Final score, Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1. And finally, Leeds United versus Everton. Elland Road felt like a reunion that had been penciled into the calendar all summer. From the first whistle, Leeds pressed like they were trying to knock the door off its hinges. Joel Pyro made Jordan Pickford work early. Ao Tanaka chose the clever square header over the greedy shot. And Daniel James with Wilfried Nanto had Everton's fullbacks running the wrong way. Jack Grealish's debut added punch for the Toffees. Carlos Alcaraz smacked a low drive that Lucas Perry clawed away, but the flow stayed white shirt. Pressure begs a break, and it came with the kind of twist Elland Road lives for. In the 84th minute, Anton Stock leathered a strike that smacked James Tarkowski's arm. Penalty, whistle, chaos. Lucas Mecca, who has the walk-up of a man who hears silence in the noise, slid it into the bottom right corner beyond Pickford's reach. The place erupted. Leeds managed it all. Back in the Premier League and immediately acting like they belong. Final score, Leeds United 1, Everton 0. As we wrap up, Week 1 gave us the full buffet. A 6-goal Anfield Opera crown late, City purring with debut spark in a 4-goal stroll, a 97th minute steal at the Amex, a scissor kick fit for billboards in N17, Villa surviving red card roulette, a promoted Sunderland planting a 3-0 flag in floodlights, Forest flying on a wood brace with Gibbs White conducting, 2 London neighbours wrestling VAR to stalemate, Arsenal nicking Old Trafford the old-fashioned way, and Leeds riding a homecoming penalty into the night sky. If opening weekend is a tone setter, the tone is chaos with craft, heavy on heart, light on mercy. Which match left you speechless? Drop it below, hit like if your pulse spiked at least once, and subscribe, because if this is week 1, imagine week 2.